All right, so I'm confused by all of this. One of the things is it's being reported that there's more protests in the NFL like we've never seen before because of Trump's comments over the weekend. But we had players arm in arm, which wasn't kneeling. We had the Steelers staying inside the locker room, which isn't kneeling. Did we have more people kneeling yesterday?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I mean, what we saw just over a year ago was one person, Colin Kaepernick, and then for the last 12 months or so, we've seen pockets of players taking a knee during the anthem, 1, 2, 3 at a time on various teams. Some teams, you wouldn't see anybody kneeling, and that's been the case for months and months. This past Sunday, after President Trump made his comments, you'd see 5, 10, 20 players at a time on the sideline. So while you did see, these are 60-person teams, right? These are large groups of people.
Yeah.
But you would see anyone who wasn't kneeling then lined up, and we were talking about players, coaches, even the owners with their arms interlocked as sort of a show of unity. But for sure, we saw more players kneeling than ever before. The question, I think, now is, does this continue?
You also saw, I guess, people kneeling arm in arm and hand in hand with people who were standing. So they were standing, but they were, I guess, showing their support by holding the hand of the person kneeling.
Yeah, that's right. And you'd see this not only on NFL sidelines. You even saw this at that Major League Baseball game the other night when the Oakland A's player became the first baseball player to take a knee during the anthem. It was a player putting his hand on his shoulder to say, hey, this is not how I'm choosing to protest right now, but you're still my teammates and I respect you. So rather than being shunned, these players who are standing clearly sending a signal of this isn't my preferred method of protest, but I'm with you in some way.
Even the owner of the New England Patriots, who has been a massive Donald Trump supporter, came out and criticized Donald Trump. What's going on there?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been interesting to watch the owners here who I think were thrust into a very difficult position by Donald Trump. And I think, frankly, they resented that because I think President Trump is right when he says that the majority of fans agree with him on this topic. The players should be standing for the national anthem. That is not in dispute. What owners seemed uncomfortable with was being told how to discipline players and telling them when and where and how they're allowed to engage with political protest. And so you saw owners who, knowing all this, then had to decide, am I with my players or am I with the president? And unanimously so far, they've said they're with their players. And like you said, Bob Kraft was the one we all had our eyes on. He donated $1 million to the president's inaugural committee. President Trump considers him a close personal friend. And finally, after several other owners wrote letters, he wrote one of his own saying he was deeply disappointed with the president's comments.
Brad, take me back. How did this start? Did this start with Steph Curry and LeBron James, or did this start Friday night when this off-the-cuff comment at the rally?
Yeah, it really started with President Trump at this rally in Alabama, where he brought up a few different things here. When he talked about Steph Curry and the NBA champion Golden State Warriors and just the honor of visiting the White House, but he had in his prepared remarks, aides tell us at the White House, say that if you went to the teleprompter, you would have seen the letters NFL. He wanted to talk about this. He went farther in his scripted than his scripted remarks would have had him go. He kind of went off the cuff. But this was a planned thing to go into Alabama and say these players should be standing. Now, the moment he called Colin Kaepernick or players like Colin Kaepernick SOBs, I think that really touched a nerve with people, especially, and players have said this, considering that he did not go that far and even attacking the white supremacist demonstrators in Charlottesville. So that really just struck an emotional chord, and we just had a player on Good Morning America say that was the moment that a lot of players around the country felt like they had to do something, and that was, in many cases, take a knee.
Yeah, he called for a boycott of the NFL, or he didn't call for a boycott of the NFL?
Yeah, he says he didn't, even though he has retweeted an image that says boycott the NFL, essentially, and he has told owners this is what you guys should do if you want to avoid a boycott. It's a nice league you have there. Shame if something happened to it. That sort of seems to be the message that he's sending. And at the end of the day, we had a reporter with him yesterday who asked him, are you calling for a boycott? Are you telling fans to boycott the NFL? He said, no, they can do whatever they want. But he is essentially predicting to owners, you'll see a boycott now that I'm opposing these players.
And not to make light of all this, but Colin Kaepernick was an adopted to a family in Milwaukee. Was he calling his birth mother or his adopted mother an SOB? I'm confused.
Well, it was difficult. And, when President Trump used that language about him, Kaepernick, by the way, has been silent throughout this weekend on social media, but his mother responded, well, I guess that makes me a proud B.
Right.
And so, she certainly, loves her son, of course, but it's been interesting to see the reaction to that phrasing when the president was chastising this man. And you can't eliminate the race component of this in a league that's 70% black, where so many fans are white. And I think that really struck a chord.
Pretty extraordinary words coming from the president's mouth. Brad Melke, ABC News correspondent, thanks for filling us in.
Thank you.
626 here, Big 550, KTRS.